Okay, today in class we learned about two-way frequency tables. So we're going to construct a table and then we're also going to interpret relative frequencies. A relative frequency is a ratio of the value of a subtotal to the value of the total. And we talk about a ratio being multiple things. A ratio can either be like 5 is to 7. We can write that as 5 is to 7. Or we can use 5 over 7, and this is what we're going to be looking at. We'll have some subtotal value, that'll be the 5 over the total value, and that would be the 7. Two-way table shows data from one sample group as it relates to two different categories. And a two-way table can show relative frequencies for rows or for columns. By analyzing the frequencies in a two-way table, you can determine possible associations between the two variables. So on example 1, it says Philip surveyed students at his school. He found that 78 students owned a cell phone and 57 of those students owned an iPod. I'm going to stop right there because from that information we can write some things in here. It says 78 students own a cell phone. So that total will go right here. You can see that we have a cell phone and a total. 57 of those, so 57 of the 78, also own an iPod, so that will go here. And once you have that information, you can find out this because these two boxes will add to give you the total. So, one way to find out that no iPod is to take 78 minus 57, which is 21. Now we'll go on. It says there are 13 students who do not own a cell phone, but own an iPod. So we have 13 who do not own a cell phone, but own an iPod. Okay, no cell phone and an iPod. That's why it goes in that box. And it says 9 students do not own either device, no iPod or no cell phone, 9. And then from here, it doesn't give you any other information. You just have to construct the two-way table summarizing this data. So to do this, I showed you with the 57 and the 21 equals 78, the same as on our next row. If we take 13 plus 9, we get 22. Now, this also works for columns. If we take the 57 plus 13, that will give us a total down here of 70. Didn't erase like I wanted it to. Yeah, let me just do that again. And then we'll do the same thing with the no iPod column. So 21 plus 9 will give us 30. I just realized I have the wrong numbers right here. 70. And then we can either add down to get 100 or add over to get 100. So we should be able to, that's one way to check to make sure your numbers are right. If you add over by your row and you add down in the total columns, those should give you that same number in that box at the bottom. Alright, this says to use the previous table to interpret the relative frequency of students by row. So I'm going to write those numbers in real quick. Okay, so I filled in the table. It says that we're going to interpret this by row. So you're going to go over and look at our rows. So to do this, you're going to take 57, which is our subtotal, over the total, and find what that relative frequency. It gives you 0.73. Then we're going to do the same thing with that 21 divided by the total, and that gives us 0.27. I did round to the nearest hundredth. And what you should notice about these two numbers is that they should add to 1. I'm going to do it also for the no cell phone. We take the 13 divided by 22 by that total in that row, which is 0.59. And then 9 divided by 22 gives us 0.41. And again, those two numbers should add to 1. And we see that they do, so we know that those numbers are correct. Then it says interpret this. When we interpret it, we're looking for a relative frequency greater than 0.5 or 50%. So we have two of them. We have 0.59 and we also have this 0.73. So I'm going to use that number right now because it's greater to interpret it. So to interpret it, we would say that the number of students that have iPods also have cell phones. So I think I wrote that just differently than how I said. The number of students that have cell phones, 73 or 0.73 or 73% also have iPods. Okay, so this example 3, we're using the same table. You will not do this in your homework. You'll get a new set. And now we're going to compare it by column. So I'm going to fill those numbers in again, and then we'll talk about how to do the relative frequencies by column. Okay, so to do this by column, we're going to look at this column here, and we're going to take our subtotal of 57 and divide it by the total in that column is 70, and that gives us a percentage of 0.81. That tells us there's a very strong association there. Then we'll also take that 13 divided by 70, which is 0.19. Again, if you add those, you should get 1. So once you know one of them, you can figure out the other one. We'll do also the no column, or the no iPod column. So we take 21 divided by 30, which is 0.7. I'll put 70. And then 9 divided by 30 is 0.30. Again, if you add straight down, you should get to 1. And then we're going to talk about this. This right here is our strongest association, so that's what I'm going to actually write about right now. So because we are using the column that says iPods, we're going to say that the number of students that have iPods and I'm going to put 0.81 also have cell phones. Okay, that should, we have one more example. Example 4, and here we have what's called a Venn diagram, and I wanted you guys to see how to do a Venn diagram. It says a pet store conducted a survey of the types of pets owned in the stores by the store's customers, constructed to a table summarizing the data. So this number right here is the number that's shared between them. So 45 people have a cat and a dog, so we know that that number will go here, and I'm going to write that to the side since we're also going to be doing relative frequencies. The number of people that only have a dog, or customers I should say, would be 125. Then this 78, those are the people that have a cat and no dog. And this 52 down here are the people that don't have either, or the customers that don't have either. Now we can add our totals. Because we're doing by columns, I'm not going to worry about this total here. I'm just going to go ahead and add down here. So when we add those, I get 170. And when I add the no cat, no dog, or I should just say this no dog column, we get 80. No, we don't. We get 130. Okay, so from here it wants you to do relative frequencies by columns. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that, let me change colors, the 45 divided by the total in this column, which is 170. So we get 0.26 there. Then we're going to take the 125 from that column divided by the total in that column, and we get 0.74. Again, if you add those two, you should get 1. That's just one way to check that you've done the math right. For our next column, we're going to take 78 divided by 130, the total in that column, which is 60 or 0.6. And then the 52 divided by 130 gives us 0.40. Again, if you add those, you should get 1. So then it says to interpret this. Well, I'm going to look for the greatest relative frequency, which is right here. And I'm going to say, first let me erase my ratios. I have room to write. I'm going to say that instead of the, let's say more people, instead of people, let's say customers. That have dogs, we're going to say 0.74, do not have a cat. Alright, hopefully that will help you with your assignment. It's 7.5 two-way frequency tables. Good luck.